¿Qué pasa? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another solo leveling video guide. So today, Bora, why is she gonna be a must-have character? Now, first of all, for those that don't know about Bora in general, she is an amazing off-field support DPS. Like, literally so crazy. Her utility, especially when you have her at A2, A3 onwards, is just crazy. She's very, very useful. And if you're running a full darkness team, she's literally a must-have character, right? So let's talk about Bora. Now, firstly, why is she going to be a must-have character? Now, since we already know from the leaks that a future specific character is going to be a dark DPS, and with that should be a very good one, and also future content is going to be dark weakness, it is probably one of the best characters to pull for if you don't have Bora, because she is literally one of those characters. If you're trying to run a pure darkness team, she is literally the best buffer you can have in the game. Now let's talk about her build guide. Now let's talk about her perfect artifacts, right? So generally speaking, the best set for her is the armed set, because the armed set actually gives you the 2-piece, actually increases the user's attack by 5%, and the 4-piece set actually when attacking, the user ignores 15% of the target's defense, right? Another alternative for this would also be the toughness set, right? So let's quickly look for it. The toughness set, there it is. So the 2-piece actually gives a critical hit rate increase by 8%, and the 4-piece increases the hit damage critical by 32%. So that's also another alternative, but depends on your usability, right? So the jewelry set, the best one is actually the outstanding connection. Now, since she's going to be a buffer off-field DPS character, you actually want to make use of that, right? So the 2-piece actually, when tagging out, increases the user and their team members attack by 12%, and the 4-piece increases the attack effect to 28%. Now this is actually huge. When you're running the right team, she is going to be buffing the team and making sure your main DPS dishes out damage, while she's also dishing out damage on the side. Now her best weapon is definitely Solid Logic, because this one increases her attack by 2.5%. And targets hit by the user's Strengthening Charm have both the damage they take from critical hits and their chance of receiving critical hit damage increased by 2.5%. So this is actually very useful. Now, apart from that, if you're looking for a free-to-play version, the Steel Bow is actually very good, because it increases the user's critical hit damage by 21%, depending obviously on your dupes. And obviously the R version is also not a bad choice. Now looking at main stats and substats, what you want to be choosing. Now for the helmet, always try and go for attack as main stat. For boots, always go for critical hit damage. Bracelet, obviously dark damage increase. And ring, go for attack percentage up. As for substats, you always want to be looking for attack, critical hit rate, critical hit damage, and dark damage in that order. That's the most optimal sub and main stats. Now, as for skill level priority, the first one you want to be focusing on is the Summoning Charm Phantom Foxes, because this one actually makes her summon Phantom Foxes that fire magic arrows. And these are actually staying on the field when you swap her out. So this is one of the first things you want to be focusing on, alongside the Strengthening Charms, because this one, she basically increases dark elemental damage by 10% for team members standing within the enhancement circle, and increases magic arrow damage of Phantom Foxes. So the way you want to be playing her, you want to be starting off with Strengthening Charm, then move on to Summoning Charm straight away, and then swap out to another member. And that's basically, these two are the main focus of her. Apart from that, her QTE skill is also very important, the support skill, because this one increases the damage taken by 15%. For the enemy, and also her ultimate is another way of dealing good damage. Also, the QTE skill is again similar to the support skill, one skill you want to be focusing on. Now, as for dupes, ideally you want to get her to A3, because the A3 actually gets her Strengthening Charm skill effect change, can be used up to 2 times. So that's actually a very good skill. Now, A1 or A2 are actually the best dupes to have, since that will basically increase the Phantom Fox's skill. Generally speaking, though, her A0 is actually enough if you're free to play. She's still going to be fulfilling the role she's supposed to be fulfilling as a buffer and an enhancer. However, if you want to be making her a pure sub DPS on top of that, obviously higher dupes would be required. Now A5 is somewhat not really needed, but basically the basic damage of small megs of Dark Charm meg increases by 75%. So it is actually pretty much useful, again, if you want to make her a sub DPS. Now, looking at the most optimal team, something like this would be very, very optimal, because Bora will actually start off using her 2 basic skills. Then you swap into Kang Tae-shik with his QTE support skill for him to inflict bleed. And then you swap straight away out to the Silver Mane and make him dish out damage while standing in the enhancement circle. So this is actually a very, very solid team combination. However, there is other ones. Now, you could also try and run something very hybrid like this. You will start off with Min, put Bora in second, and on third, either Cha or Alicia, right? Now, a team like this would actually be very, very crazy, because Min will actually start off by buffing, then you will swap out to Bora with her Phantom Foxes. Then you will use her Phantom Foxes because this will act for her as a sub DPS off field. Then you will swap her out to Alicia, and obviously the swap out skill from Bora obviously increases the damage taken of the enemy by 15%. And then someone like Alicia or Cha will actually be able to make crazy damage due to the buffs of Min and Bora combined. So these are actually the most optimized teams. Now, obviously, when we get a dark DPS, the best role for her would always be in the middle, and the dark DPS would be profiting very much of her. Now, mark my words, as I'm saying, she's going to be a very, very important character along the line, down the road, because as we are getting content which is going to be dark typeness weak, they will be obviously releasing specific characters with dark elemental damage. And Bora is one of the characters, if you're running dark characters, she is one of the units which will help other dark units greatly excel with her in the party, as she increases dark damage in her field and cleanses debuffs on top of that. Now, that effect is very strong against bosses, like for example against Arcanate boss, with the ability to drastically slow your movement and attack speed, which is also very, very much sought after. Now, generally speaking, you can run her as a pure buff slash cleanser slash sub DPS, but it also depends heavily on how many dupes you have. Now, at A0, I would generally class her more of a lower tier sub DPS. However, off field, she's always amazing. She's definitely, regardless whichever tier you have, she's a crazy buffer and enhancer. And generally speaking, if you have her at higher tiers, at basically higher dupes, she's going to be in crazy off-field support DPS. So, with that being said, I hope you guys are having luck getting her. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. Until next time.